Hello, I'm Matt Pieman Hill, and that's Adam Smido Smith. Hopefully, you've seen us before, but if you haven't, welcome. It's good to have you on board. We do darts preview content. We've been rolling since sort of before the World Championships in December now. And now we've got a few videos under our belts. It's time to do something a little bit different. We've already been looking ahead to the Masters, which is at the end of this month, January 2021. And now we've got something completely new away from the betting previews and the general tournament previews. We've got a fantasy preview. Yeah, the Fantasy Masters with Zweeler.com. We're going to be taking a look at the game today. If you've never heard of it, don't worry. We're going to walk you through it right from scratch. It's a great little game. Very cheap to play. Chance to win cash prizes. But all in all, it's just a really good bit of fun, to be honest. There's limited spaces available to play the game. We're going to have a look at it. You get a budget of £66 million. You build a team of 7 players that you think are going to go well in the tournament, and you get points for each game that your players win. So it's a really interesting game, really good bit of fun. And me and Adam are going to have a look at it. But Adam, I know you had a look for the first time today. You signed up. You're ready to go.
Yeah, I'm signed up. I mean, I wouldn't be your typical fantasy player. I come from more of the gambling background, but yourself, obviously, an avid fantasy player across multiple different sports, including darts. And yeah, so it kind of marries the two together. And I've signed up today. It's like signing up to any normal betting site, to be honest. And yeah, you can have a play around. And the beauty of it, I found, was that you can kind of create one team, save it, and then start from scratch with a different set of eyes, keeping one eye on the draw, thinking who will go well, and obviously your budgets. And then, so I've got a couple of teams saved at the moment, and I found it quite interesting. And we'll come on to how it compares to the UK betting markets as well, and where the value might be in a direct comparison with their odds and their price in the fantasy game. That actually takes out our opinion in that kind of comparison. So you can find the value just by kind of looking on Odds Checker and going from there. And then you can add in your opinions as well. Obviously, we saw the World Championships less than a month ago, so there's plenty to go on. It's nice and easy. It's the top 24 players over 3 days. And like I said, I think it costs £6.50, £7 to enter, and it's a bit of fun. And yeah, I'm all for it. I'm having a good go on this.
Yeah, so we're going to walk you through it from scratch. So if you've never heard of Zweeler, don't worry. I must admit, as a UK person, I'd not really encountered the website until November, December time. I got into it through dartsnews.com, another website that I like to use quite frequently. That might be where you're seeing us right now. But yeah, so I discovered the game. I played it in the Ali Pali. I didn't do too well, to be honest. I tried to. I kind of hedged all my bets on Dimitri Vandenberg winning the tournament. Didn't go too well.
What was your finishing position, Pieman, in the Zweeler World Championship Fantasy League?
It was definitely 3 figures. I think it may have been as low as sort of 600th or something like that. So
that's a good effort for you.
There was thousands in there, so let's be fair. I mean, it could have gone a lot worse, but certainly could have gone better. Yeah. Yeah, that's my first effort under my belt. Anyway, I'm out to improve for this one as well. And it's a nice little starter tournament because, as you say, it's not a massive field, 24. We've got recent form from the Worlds and stuff. So just going to jump in now. I'm going to try and share my screen with you, and we're going to have a look at it, and we're going to walk through. So hopefully you can see that. You seen that, Adam? Right, so here we are. We're on Zweeler. Hopefully you can see this all okay, yeah?
Yep, can see it. Yep,
okay. So this is what you'll be greeted with when you go to Zweeler.com. Obviously, if you're going from England, I've got EN, so n.zweeler.com. Brings you to the English version of the site. I'm going to click Go to Games now. And as you see, these guys, they really do have all sports going on. These are all the games that are live or are about to go live. And I was amazed at the amount of different sports that they actually had available. You're bound to find something of interest. But let's just have a look for now. Let's go what we're here for. I'll just scroll down and we'll get on the darts.
And as just on that screen, Pieman, to be fair, just on that little search box, as a first-time user, I just typed in Masters and boom, it came up. And obviously you've gone on the drop down to darts as well, so it's dead easy to find.
Yeah, look, I think the best way, because it could be overwhelming if you come onto this site for the first time, you think, whoa, there's a lot going on here. But there is just so much going on in terms of there's a game for everyone here, I think. So make sure you take a bit of time, get on this drop down, have a look through the sports that you like, see what's going on, because I don't want to get too sidetracked, but even football, for example, they have games running on just that night's matches. So you can literally pick the scores on the night's matches. So if you're looking for a bit of interest on tonight's football or whatever, or tomorrow's football, you could just enter a game, £3 or £4, pick 6 scores, and whoever's the closest is going to take the money. So it's great if you're just looking for a little quick interest on something. But let's focus on the darts for now. As you can see, 2 games live at the moment. We're going to be focusing on the Masters, but as you can see, lots and lots going to be going on. Already they've got in the calendar all the Premier League nights. You can play nightly, you can play the tournament overall. The UK Open obviously won't be too far away, scheduled for March. And then there's a fantasy darts game that's going to run through the entire of the 2021 calendar, and that's going to be a massive prize pool, I believe. So definitely one that we'll be covering in due course. But let's go on to the Masters here. So as you can see, you've seen the number there, 34 out of 70. So that means that there's already 34 paid up teams and plenty more that people have said, including ourselves. So we've started having a play around with our teams, not decided which one I'm going to enter as my paid team yet. I can pay for it right up until the day of the tournament. So there's no rush on me to make my final decisions. We're just going to have a play around now. So theoretically, you would click on create new team here, and that's how you would create your team. So signing up, Adam, I know you signed up earlier. It's quite a quick process, isn't it?
Yeah, like I say, just like signing up to any other betting website, really. To be honest, you get a verification email, they check your age, job done. I mean, yeah, simple, really. Made a deposit, 10 quid. I think there's a deposit bonus as well if you're more serious about looking at other sports. And obviously, like you say, there's plenty to go at. But yeah, I just whacked a tenner in there. This game is £6.22 per team to enter. It might be a obscure amount, the £6.22, but I think that's because it's converted from euros, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and it all kind of adds up into a prize pool. So there's, as you can see overall here, there's a grand prize pool of 444, and as you say in euros, that would work out a little bit tidier.
Yeah.
But just going back, this is what you'll be greeted with when you go onto the website and click Masters. So just a little overview of the tournament. And as I say, €66 million is your budget to pick 7 players. So here we are. I've set it up for us here. And I've set us up a YouTube preview team. So this is the screen where you create your team. So on the right here, you've got all the players in the tournament. So 24 players going into this tournament. If you're looking for more preview content on the tournament, we've already done 3 videos on this tournament. So you'll find the links in the description below. We've got a first look at the tournament overall, and then we were joined by Ozzy Smith to look through the top half and the bottom half of the draw, player by player. So if you need a lowdown on this tournament, there is over an hour of content there.
Yeah, we've covered every single player. We've covered every single first round match. We've outlined our fancies for the tournament, many of which will be reflected in our selections in our fantasy team, of course. But yeah, we've got plenty of content.
And we've managed to sort of, I think in doing those side by side, you've highlighted some interesting disparities, haven't you, between the price of certain players and the price of their odds to win the tournament, and how that sort of differs. And that could be a key clue into strategy. So right here, starting here, we've got Michael van Gerwen at 20 million and Gerwen price at 19.8 million. Now, obviously, if anyone hasn't played fantasy before, your general restriction is you've got to pick a team of however many players, but your budget won't allow you to simply just pick all of the best players. So, for example, if I put Van Gerwen, Price, Aspinall, right, I'm already out. I've used all my cash. Adding Chisnell, I can't afford anyone else.
Yeah.
So you've got to have a mixture of sort of lower cost players and higher cost players. You can use right up to your 66 million budget in this game, but you don't need to. So as myself and yourself, Adam, we've both got a bit of cash left over after we've picked our teams, and that's all right. It's perfectly fine to do that, but don't feel the need to use all of your budget if you're happy with your team. But yeah, just scrolling down here, so they have actually got the draw for you, which is quite handy there. So these are the people playing each other. Joe Cullen versus Stephen Bunting. Winner of that plays Gerwin Price, and that's in that top segment of the draw. Michael Smith, Adrian Lewis plays Gary Anderson in the second round, etc. So that gives you a little overview of who's going to bump into whom, whatever. As I say, we've looked at that in great detail in our videos. So if you're looking for a quarter by quarter preview, that's the place to go for that. So initially for me, Adam, I'm presuming you would feel the same here, but if we just look at how we actually score points in this game, so I'll try and get the points up for us here. Just bear with me. I did have it on a tab earlier, but I've got so many tabs open at the moment. There we go. So the points in this particular game. So at the Ali Pali, obviously, it was slightly different because there was more rounds. But this is quite a short, quick-fire tournament. So if your player enters in the first round and wins, so gets to the second round, you get 3 points. If they win the second round and get to the quarterfinal, it's 5 points. 8 points, 12 points, etc. The winner gets an additional 8 points. And then alongside building the team, you make a prediction of who will win the Masters. That doesn't have to be the player in your team. That could be a totally different player. So say if you built a team where you had Michael van Gerwen and Peter Wright in there, and you just wanted to cover yourself a little bit, you could predict that Gerwin Price was going to win it. And then you kind of covered all bases. But
I'm thinking of doing that.
Yeah. I mean, that's one strategy of doing it, because you kind of guarantee that you're going to be in the mix for that 12-point haul. But also, say Michael van Gerwen wins it. If you've got Michael van Gerwen in your team and you predict Michael van Gerwen, you're going to get all the points from him winning it, plus them 12 bonus points. And that could be the difference between, finishing 8th or 9th and finishing top. So obviously there's 15 cash prizes up for grabs in this one. So we want to be thinking about getting as many points as we possibly can. So with that in mind, just going back onto this one, I personally want to be picking the player that I felt was going to win each quarter of the draw, because you're going to get the most points accumulated if you can get the 4 semi-finalists. Then, you've got 4 players who've got you the maximum amount of points. You haven't missed out on any big points hauls. No, you haven't given anyone the chance to make ground on you, if you will. And then, yes, these little differentials, the cheap players, they are important, but ultimately you need to make sure you've got a strong runner in each quarter, I think. Not necessarily the most expensive player, but a runner that you're pretty confident in has a good chance of winning the quarter. So looking at this top quarter first, I mean, that's these 6 players here. So there'll be a lot of love for Gerwin Price, I would imagine. World champion. He's priced accordingly. If you have Gerwin in your team here, he's going to cost you just shy of 20 million. So that's a third of your budget nearly used on one player, and you've got to get 7 in there. So that's hard work. But you can afford 1 or 2 luxury players, if you will. In my opinion,
to a bit of a fantasy game amateur like me, 7 players in a 24 runner field is quite a lot. So it does make you do really have to think about what you're doing, and there's only going to be 8 second round games. You would like to have a runner in 7 of those games, really, if you think about it. I mean, it wouldn't be a great idea to have 2 players facing off in the second round. So yeah, it does. You're having to look at the tournament as a whole. You're not just picking 1 or 2 players and forgetting about it, or Van Gerwen will win simple. You're actually having to look through the draw and see who might win what.
Yeah, there's a lot of different strategies and approaches to it, and I don't think there's a particularly right approach or wrong approach as such. I mean, like at the end of the day, just like when you're placing a bet, you're going to need that little bit of luck if you're going to come out as the winner, and finding the right mixture and the balance. But I think there's certain things you can do to make sure that you don't get left behind, and they do actually have a very helpful, and a lot of people will find this a good starting point. I think they have a very helpful section where you can actually see who's being selected the most. So if you click most popular here, that'll bring you up what the other teams have gone for so far. Unsurprisingly, Gerwin Price and Dimitri van den Berg are the most selected players. And I think that's for different reasons. Gerwin Price probably, even though he's a hefty price, people probably look at him and think he's the most likely winner off the back of his World Championship win. Whereas Dimitri van den Berg, probably the standout price. He's playing, as we've alluded to in all of our preview videos, he's playing like one of the favourites. But he's not priced like one of the favourites. He's actually half the price of Michael van Gerwen. So it's no surprise to me that a lot of people are using Dimitri as the first pick in their team, pretty much. And all the way down here, Jeffrey Deswan is only in 9% of teams by contrast. So I think an important element of fantasy playing is to understand that you've got your big players and you have to make a choice on them. Am I going to just accept that I need to have that big player in my team because I don't want to give everyone else a head start kind of thing? Or do you take them on? If you take on a big player, you are basically saying you need that player to get knocked out early or your chance is gone. But if that player does get knocked out early, you've immediately, Gerwin Price goes out in his first game, you've got an advantage on 50%, 7% of the field if you haven't got him.
Yeah.
And then you have what I would call differentials at the bottom of the pack. So ones that people don't have. And if one of these guys was to make the final or something, it would give you a massive advantage on the rest of the field. So initially you're working out which big players do I need to have in my team, and then you're thinking which differentials do I think are going to make the difference, and just trying to make that work within your budget. So let me put this to you, Adam. If you could pick one of Michael van Gerwen or Gerwin Price, who would you go with?
good. I've not really thought of that one.
To put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, I should have done. I would say Michael Van Gerwen. They're virtually the same price, aren't they? It's close because I think they clearly. How do you say it? I mean, Gerwen. I think that Bunting could cause problems in that top half of the draw. But away from that, Gary Anderson, Rob Cross, we've already highlighted as being a weak top 8 ranked player. He's actually top 4 ranked player. It's close. It's one of them, though. As I alluded to earlier, I would go with having one in my team and then picking the other one to win the tournament.
Yeah, I think that's a fair enough strategy. To be honest, I think you could do a lot worse. So you'd maybe say go with MVG in the team and then maybe put Gerwen Price in here as your winner.
Yeah.
As a bit of cover. Yeah, I quite like that. It'd be a coin toss for me as well, to be honest. And I actually think there is a case for building a team without either of them. Yeah. Because we've talked about it, the Masters, it looks like a very open tournament. So I think you could make a case for thinking, right, if I don't use either of them two guys and neither of them win it, you've got a great chance of winning. If you've got a team of 7 of the remaining 22 players, pretty much everyone else is going to have one of the big 2 boys in. So
the odds suggest that you're going to need a lot of luck for the joint favourites. They're basically the joint favourites, and it's them two are half the price of the next best in the field. So Van Gerwen on the betting market's 11-4. Gerwen Price is 7-2. Then it's 7-1 Peter Wright and 16-1 everyone else. So the UK betting odds market suggests there is a big disparity between those two and the rest of the field. Yeah.
So theoretically, let's just, for the sake of this video, we'll put MVG in our team there. He's the main man there. He's in there. Now, I'm already looking at this, and this is quite helpful, actually. If you scroll down here to the draw, once you put someone in your team, it highlights their name in green there. So you can kind of see what areas of the draw you've got covered and start mapping it out in your head where your team is. Have I got a bullet in every section? I would say make sure.
Well, I'll be having a bullet in my section. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. Well, so will I. I'll be joining you. And that is that's probably a perfect time to talk about it. So we've just put in a big hitter. Now let's look at adding in a differential. So someone at the bottom end of this price pack, maybe someone in this bottom 8, 5 million and under, someone that's going to save you cash, but you think has got a big run. So we've got the likes of.
If you're having one of the top 2, you've virtually got to have someone in the bottom 8 of that list there. Just
agree.
Budget wise.
Agree. Yeah, or you're going to end up. What a lot of people do, the mistake that a lot of people make is they will typically with a fantasy game they'll stack high. They'll put in the first, the second, the third, the fourth most expensive, and just fill it with the people at the bottom, the cheapest possible people, and that isn't going to win you things because a lot of people apply that strategy. So at best, you're going to tie with the other people that have done it. And B, it's never that straightforward. There's always people that outrun their odds. There's always people that underperform. That's how sport works. Any sport, you will never, ever get a tournament where everyone performs exactly how they were predicted to. So you've got to be trying to look at where things may go against the what's expected, against the grain a little bit. But it's just striking that balance. So yeah, we go to the bottom half, and Adam's already kind of implied it. But if we were looking for someone from this bottom, I think we both agree that Stephen Bunting could be a great value runner here. Plays Joe Cullen in the first round. So that's a chance to get 3 points on the board straight away with one of them. Cullen, a narrow favourite on this pricing. And I think we discussed it in our video, didn't we? At the prices, we couldn't really split them, and we would be going with Bunting at the prices. I mean, this is a man that's just had a run to the World semi-finals. And he's in fantastic form. So you can't knock him form-wise. And for 5 million, I feel like I've got a very good chance of getting my 3 points. And then I would fancy him to give Gerwen Price a good game, as he did in the semi-final. And it's only going to be first to 10 legs if they meet in round 2. So I'm very happy to get Stephen Bunting in my team there. Yeah. And immediately that's brought the average of our player down. We're now only spending sort of 12.5 million per player. Which makes a massive difference to your budget. So if we're looking here, we've got 41 million left for 5 players. So off the top of my head, that's an average of just over 8 million a player. So we can still afford to have a couple of these in. But if we're going over 8 million with players, we're going to have to balance it out with players under 8 million, if you will. So maybe you're going up to the top again. Is there any in that sort of top 6, top 8 that stand out to you, Adam, do you think?
Well, in our first look video at the Masters, I put up Aspinall. You disagreed, but looking at this format, Aspinall is overpriced for me. We've got another little graph that we can come to after we've picked our mock team, but in this format with this fantasy head hat on, if you like, Aspinall's overpriced. So I would probably prefer to be with Peter Wright over Aspinall. I think Wright has a favourable draw off the top of my head, Pie Man. Is it?
Let's go down here. So Peter Wright will play the winner of Whitlock Ratajski.
Or maybe not as favourable.
And then would play Chisnell, Gurney, or Deswan. So I mean, you'd probably be more worried about his second round match than his third round match, to be honest.
Yeah, I was thinking. My initial thoughts were, because the initial video was when the draw was already out. I thought Aspinall should have a good chance against Ian White.
Well, Aspinall's going to play the winner of Ian White or Mensah, and then he would play one of Cross, Durrant, or King.
Yeah, but coming to this format, I think he's overpriced. Aspinall to be the third most expensive player in this fantasy league, to me, is overdoing it a bit. But I mean, yeah, if you told me they were the same price from that second band, if you like, because Aspinall and Peter Wright are the second band, aren't they? If we're looking at it here,
they are really.
So I would. Yeah, gun to the head, I'm with Aspinall, but I do think he is probably overpriced in this format, and it's one that I might review when I've got my 7 in if I'm over budget. But
let's try it with Aspinall, because as you quite rightly say, you think the reason that he is that price is because he will be very much expected to beat the winner of Ian White versus Mensah Suljovic. So, I mean, that's someone who you think is going to guarantee you points, and then I can tell you, rightly or wrongly, he would be priced pretty much guaranteed
favourite against
any of them three on current form. So you've got someone who is expected to win 2 matches.
Yeah.
So that's why he's the price he is. And whether we're keen on him or not, that remains fact. So we'll stick him in there for now. Going back down to the bottom, I think we just discussed it before. And Jose de Sousa, and you've got a little... this might be a good time, actually, to pull the little graph.
Yeah, go on. Yep.
If you don't mind. Now, I've just got to try and work out how I change my screen sharing. So feel free to talk through what you've actually done.
Yeah, so I've just compared where the 24 players rank in terms of their odds and how that is compared to their price in the fantasy league. So what it identified really was, to me, 2 players that had a big disparity between their odds with the UK bookmakers and the price that they are in the fantasy game. For example, Nathan Aspinall is the 6th highest ranked player in the odds, or the 6th favourite, if you like, but he's actually the number 3 ranked player in terms of fantasy price. So that would be poor value if you're going off the odds. But the best value if going off the odds is de Sousa is the joint 10th favourite for this tournament out of the 24, but he's actually ranked 17 in terms of his rank or price for the fantasy game at 5.9 million. So he does have to play Van Gerwen in the second round.
Can you see that now, or am I on Zweeler again?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, so
good.
Right, might want to make it a bit bigger if you can zoom in.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, so just de Sousa there is 40 to 1 to win the tournament, which is a rank of joint 10, but he's actually got a rank of 17 in the fantasy price, so that makes him good value. I said in one of our preview videos that he's got a lot of questions to answer for me, de Sousa, but then when with my fantasy hat on, I'd have de Sousa in absolutely no problem. As you can see, what I mentioned earlier about Aspinall, he's ranked number 6 in terms of tournament odds, but number 3 in terms of fantasy price. So that might put you off a little bit there. Everyone else is kind of in line.
I think this is really interesting, actually, what you've pulled together, and I think once again it kind of backs up what we were talking about Dimitri van den Berg as well, and why he's in so many teams, because again we've talked up his chances. He's the joint 4th favourite, but he's only the 7th most expensive in this, and obviously that's a lot of that is to do with him hitting Van Gerwen and people thinking it's a risk. But I believe that's someone who can win this tournament. So I'd have absolutely no problems in adding him in. And I think with that in mind, I'll fire myself back onto that, and we'll get these 2 added, I think.
Yeah, in a nutshell on that graph, if the number in column number 5 is higher than the number in column 3, then it represents good fantasy value, basically.
Correct. And I'm sure we could share that data with anyone who wanted it, or you can just screen grab it off the video. That's probably your best bet, isn't it? So
hey, Shane will like that. Shane will love that kind of
he
stuff.
will like that. He will. Right. So I'm gonna, with that in mind, two players that we think are good value in terms of the fantasy game: Dimitri Vandenberg there, and Jose de Souza there. So let's just take a little bit at how our draw's shaping up now. Obviously, we've got MVG and Jose here in the same section. That might be a no-no. You might end up having a play with that and thinking, do you know what? I'd rather cover another separate section that I haven't touched. But this is just our first draft, and this is the beauty of it. You can kind of play with your team and have a fiddle with it right until the last minute. And there's so many different ways to go about it. I mean, you could look at that and think, well, if I think Jose de Souza is definitely going to beat Johnny Clayton, I'm guaranteed to have someone in the quarters. Kind of how you went at the Worlds with, you had back Price and de Souza, hadn't you? And you knew if they collided, I know they didn't in the end, but if they did, you would have had a runner guaranteed. It's a different option.
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't be my preferred option of betting or fantasy teaming, but yeah, sometimes needs must.
Yeah, definitely. Right, so I'm looking at this draw now, and I'm thinking, right, where have we got gaps here? This area, I look like I want to get a runner in this little section of the draw, and maybe someone at the bottom as well. So I'm looking at what budget we've initially got available, and of course we can play with this, but we've got just under 12 million for two players, 11.4 million. So we're probably going to need a couple of cheap options or a mid-range option and a real budget option. Now, looking at the budget options, personally, as much as I like Johnny Clayton, I believe he will probably go out to Jose. I know you could make a case for it, but if we're having Jose, we can't have Johnny Clayton theoretically. Adrian Lewis is someone we talked about in our tournament preview and saying that we just can't put him up with any confidence at the moment. Again, Mensah, Sulovic, Jeffrey Deswan. Chris Dobie's got a tough draw in Dimitri. So I'm probably looking in this mid-range for a couple of players. And I don't know about yourself, but the ones that stand out to me, Daryl Gurney is an obvious pick at 6.8. World Championship quarter-finalist. We know he's banging form. He's in this good section of the draw. I can see him beating Jeffrey Deswan relatively comfortably unless there's a real change in the form book. And then I'd fancy his chances against Dave Chisnell, and I think you also quite like Daryl Gurney as a selection, Adam.
Yeah, 100%. It's quite simple. I think he'll beat Jeffrey Deswan. And if you just scroll up to the prices list there, Pyman, at the bottom section. So from 15 downwards, the shortest price with the bookies to win their opening game out of those four is Mensah Sulovic. He's at 11 to 10.
So he's in that Ian White.
Hence why he's the highest price of those four, if you like. Mensah's 11 to 10 to beat Ian White. Dobie's 2 to 1 to beat Dimitri. Adrian Lewis is 2 to 1 to beat Smith, and Johnny Clayton's 13 to 8 to beat de Souza. So strictly on the odds for the first round game, Johnny Clayton would represent the best value. They're all outsiders, but Clayton's the cheapest.
So theoretically, we could put in one of Mensah or Clayton here just to finish our team off. Let's say I put Mensah in there. And there we are. We've used 65.9 of our 66 million. Not much change to come out of that. Get a penny back. But that would be our team. Now, I would personally then have a scroll down to this draw and I would think, where am I heavy? And I think we have to say here that Jose and MVG playing each other would probably be better getting a runner in that little section, wouldn't you? And then you've spread your bullets out a little bit. I'm pretty happy with Daryl Gurney in that bottom section. Don't really feel the need to go into that again. Happy with Stephen Bunting again. Dimitri, I'm very happy with. Aspinall and Sulovic are going to meet potentially in round 2 as well. So that might be an area we want to take on as well. So then it's just a case of having a mess around with it. So you say, right, I'm going to maybe take out one of Nathan Aspinall and Sulovic. And I'm maybe going to take out one of MVG and Jose because they're going to meet in round 2. So in terms of budget, I mean, we know if we take out Mensah or Jose, it's not going to free up much money. If I take out Jose there, I mean, it basically opens up the rags that we've just discussed and Whitlock.
What does it look like, Pyman, if you put Jose back in, take out Van Gerwen, and then that might open up, because I know you like the Merv King. That might open. You might be able to afford King and Smith.
Well, just for example here, so we put in King. Yeah, so I like this personally because I think King opens up a new part of the draw that we didn't have a runner in. I fancy him against Glendoran, and I think either of them would give Rob Cross a good game. So I think getting one of these two in your team is a really important thing for me. And if we just have a quick look at who's got, so me personally, I think having one of Merv King Glendoran is an essential for this game. I think it's a game you need to take an opinion on because I think they're cheap compared to the big hitters, but they'll have a great chance of beating Rob Cross.
Yeah,
so I think you've got to get 100%. One of them in. And yet, only 29% of players have got one of these in. So, I mean, some of those teams may have both of them in, but it's unlikely given they're playing each other round one. So I'm saying roughly half of the field haven't got one of these two guys in. So that's somewhere where I'm already thinking, if I could pick the winner of King versus Durant, I've got an edge on the field there. So that's an important part to take an opinion on, I think. And if you've watched our preview content, you'll know that we're pretty keen on Mervyn King. So,
well, particularly you and Ozzy. I mean, you're perennially keen on Mervyn King.
I mean,
why wouldn't you be?
So, I'm a big King fan. But let's go back up here. So we've took MVG out. Now that has made things significantly easier. And it hasn't really hurt us in terms of strategy because we've still got Jose in that section. We've still got a runner.
And you could pick Van Gerwen as you.
So, you could easily put Michael Van Gerwen in there. But then you might think, well, actually, now I've got 13 million left over. Why don't I strengthen some of the areas in other parts of the draw? And this is where you end up, you could start with one lineup and you end up with a completely different one. And that's why it's quite nice. There's quite a nice feature whereby you can save the team. Yeah. So that would be pay your team. So once you've put your deposit in, when you're ready and confident you want to submit that team, you just click pay team, bang, done, and you're in. But if you're not sure and you're just having a mess around, you might want to save that team. You might want to call this like team 1, team 2, team 3, team 4. Save 4 or 5 teams and then just have a look at them. And when you get nearer the time, you can choose which one you want to pay in. And you can actually pay up to 4 teams in this event. In the Worlds, I think you could have double figures teams if you wanted. So if you really can't decide between 2 teams, just enter them both.
Just show us, Pine Man, that you have to put in the predictions winner at the top because I missed that first time round, that little drop down.
Yeah. You might not notice it, but you will get a warning off the website. So if I try and save this team, I'm going to get an error warning.
Yeah.
You've not selected the winner of the Masters. So in this little box here, it's a drop down. You just
have no cost. Yeah,
you can pick who you want. It's just an extra. It's a differential to split any. It helps split people who might have gone for the same team and might be level on points. Then this will help split. And you do get 12 points if you pick the winner. Now, I think both of us with our odds and probability hats on, you'd want to be picking one of the big boys here, wouldn't you? That's your best chance of getting. It's no risk. It's almost a free hit at predicting the winner, and you might as well get the percentages on your side. So I would probably be picking one of MVG or Gerwen Price purely on preference. Let's just put MVG in there, for example. But yeah, just to finalise that point that I was making, you still haven't got a runner in this part of the draw. So now I've got this extra money to spare. I might think, well, actually, I want to get Michael Smith in there. I think he's going to beat Adrian Lewis. And then I think he'll have a good chance against Gary Anderson. And that gives me someone in an extra section of the draw. So I can pick someone that I wasn't so keen on because I've got the spare money now. I could take Mensur out. And I can afford to upgrade him to a Michael Smith.
Beautiful.
And you look at that team there, Bunting, Smith, King, Aspinall, Jose, Dimitri, Gurney. Pretty happy with that. I think that got a real chance of doing well. I've picked my winner, Michael Van Gerwen, for my bonus 12 points. I'm going to save that team. Your team is saved. And then, if I wanted to make a new team, I could click new team in here. And that would just take me, I'll show you. There you go. New one, Matt Hill 1, YouTube team 2. And we start picking again like that. And as you can see, Pie Man's posse, that is my
come on, show us Pie Man's posse then as it stands now. Come on. And I'll tell you what mine is.
Okay, so I'm not finished with this by any stretch.
Don't give us that, Pie Man. You've spent hours.
I've got MVG in there. Now, I'll be honest with you. I wasn't originally, when I made the team, I wasn't going to have Van Gerwen in there. But I had so much money left over that I realised that I could have it. Honestly, I managed to pick the most budget team you've ever seen. I think I spent 40-something million. Well. Yeah. 40-something million, and I thought, that doesn't get beat. Really, that does not get beat, that team. So, just scrolling down here, you can see, look at that. I've spread my selections around across the field. 7 runners from 8 sections. So a nice mixture of people in the first round. I've got 3 first-round runners, 4 coming in the second round. I've got the favourite for the tournament. I've got someone who I think will go well in Michael Smith. Dimitri, who's my value pick to win the tournament. Gurney, the form man from the Worlds. And then Whitlock, I think, is a dark horse for a bounce back after his disappointment. Merv King, enough said. Stephen Bunting, the value pick. And that comes in, as you see, I've still got 1.2 million in the bank. There is no guarantees that I'm going to stick with that. At the moment, I've got Dimitri van den Bergen as my winner, which goes against everything I said. Would strongly consider changing that to Gerwen Price nearer the time, but just to have Price covered, as I haven't got him in my lineup. But as I say, that lineup is subject to change, and that's the beauty of this game. I will save that team, and I will come back to that whenever I want. So I can then have a look at YouTube preview, YouTube 2, and yeah, I'll probably, I'll come on to this on the Tuesday or the Wednesday before the tournament next week and just have a proper look through the draw, look at the latest news and quotes, just check no one's pulled out with COVID or anything like that. And I'll be submitting my team. And yeah, really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be good fun.
If you scroll to the top, Pie Man, and click right to the top and click My Lineups.
There you go.
It shows them you on one page. Right, anyway. I'll tell you what I've got. So, I've got 2 options at the moment. My first option, what I first did is Aspinall, Wright, Dimitri, Michael Smith, Gurney, Ian White, and Stephen Bunting. So that takes out the big boys, which is.
So we've got some similar names already in there.
And then one with the big boys in, I've got Van Gerwen, Dimitri, Smith, Merv King, Ian White, D'Souza, and Bunting. So it's similar-ish. So that one
5 out of 7 the same. And this is what I mean. So you will always have some people who have a similar team to you, and that makes it predicting the winner all the more important. It makes the 2 or 3 players that you do have different all the more important. It's fine margins. So a lot of people, this is where this tool is so useful, where you can see what other people have picked. So just to give you that one again. So we're on our team, building our team or whatever. You just click on here, most popular on the left. And it's a great little page, this. And as you can see, the most popular pick to win the Masters, no surprises there. Gerwen Price, 44%. Van Gerwen, 35%. So if you don't fancy either of these two, there's a good chance that you're going to be on your own with not only 8 players have actually been picked to win this tournament.
Yeah, then you're going to pick Merv King, so you'll be fine. You'll be the only one in the world. You'll be the only. You and Ozzy, you'll be the only 2 in the world that are.
But at the moment, there's only me and one other person gone for Dimitri at the moment. So it just shows that could be the area where it's won and lost. But yeah, I think the strategy you mentioned about covering yourself in case you can't afford Price, but you think he might win it, and that's a good option for that. But I think
the only thing with that is I think you said earlier the winner of this fantasy league will have both the winner in their prediction and in their team. I think
so. I think you look at a good team performance here, and if we kind of get up the points again. So let's just do a tally up. Say you've got the winner of the tournament in your team. They're going to get 3, 8, 16, 28, 36. So 36 points if you've got, say MVG wins it, you're going to get 36 points by having MVG in your team. And you're going to get 28 if you have the finalists, whoever he beat in the final. So immediately, if you've got the 2 finalists, you're getting 64 points from that duo. So I personally think the winning score is going to be, it's going to be around 100 or more. So you're going to need to have 3 or 4 of the last 3 or all 4 of the semi-finalists. And it may be that a couple of people have the 6 or 7 highest scoring players in their team, whereby, regardless of whether you've got Van Gerwen in your team or not, you're going to need to have predicted him to win it as well. So we're talking, I think the strategy we mentioned is probably a bit too cautious for people who want to go outright for the win. But if you're just trying to get in the money, then, it's a solid option. It should ensure a good performance, if you will. But as I say, 15 prizes up for grabs in this particular game. And this is relatively low prize, this one. But, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's still a nice touch. You're still looking at 10, 15, 20 times your money if you can win it. And then, as I say, there's bigger games running throughout the year on this. including the year-round game, which has thousands and thousands of pounds in the prize pool. So a really good bit of fun, cheap as chips to enter. And yeah, I just think you'll really enjoy it. And obviously, if people have got any questions about how they sign up and how they build a team and stuff, just drop something in the comments and we'll try and help you out, I'm sure. And I'm sure the guys at Zweeler would help you out as well.
Yeah, and just to confirm, there will be no prizes if you beat Pieman or myself. There will be no prizes if you beat Pieman and yourself. It's almost expected that you can.
I was going to say, maybe you should be having a serious look at yourself if you don't, really.
So yeah, if you don't beat us, then yeah, you need to have a word with yourself. But yeah, thanks for tuning in again. And like I say, there's plenty of content for the Masters tournament that starts on January the 29th. It's live on ITV4. Starts on the Friday and then just runs for 3 days straight. And like I say, it's the top 24 players in the world. The action's going to come at you thick and fast, and I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, I've been 3 weeks without darts. I've been climbing the wall pine, man. I don't know what you've been doing, but I've been bored as hell.
Oh, similar, yeah. I mean, my missus isn't looking forward to it coming back, but I know I am. So,
yeah, well, it lands on my missus's birthday the Saturday, so I'm in all sorts of trouble on that Saturday. You know, when there's quarterfinals of the Masters going on, and I'm going to be watching blooming, whatever she watches.
You're trying to have a look at where you are in this as well.
I'm logging on Zweeler, see if I'm in the top 10. Yeah. So, right. So, yeah. Thanks for tuning in, folks, and we'll speak to you soon.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.